Welcome to the B2B Breakthrough Podcast. I'm your host, Sierra Cristo. What is something that, on the flip side of the doubt coin, what is like an indicator that this person knows their stuff, that this pitch is well rehearsed, well researched? This is someone who I'm going to listen, who I'm going to hang on every word. And how do you project that in those opening sentences of your pitch?
I'll tell you what it's not. It's not rhetorical questions or cliche buzzwords and phrases. Like, okay, so from a rhetorical question, I hear so many founders use the have you ever, do you know someone, can I get a show of hands? It feels so staged and stale and awkward. And it's like, do I really want to raise my hand? Am I lying now? If I don't experience it, am I not a part of this pitch anymore? It excludes so many more people than you think and creates such an awkward pause and moment. So I never recommend that. And then avoiding the buzzword phrases is such a big one. Cliche, like revolutionary, disruptive, game-changing, sustainable, holistic. You couldn't tell me out of those phrases what I do, what stage I'm at, why it matters. And every single founder I meet uses them. So when I coached some of the founders last year for Co-Create, I probably removed an average of 20 plus buzzwords per pitch. And they're like, wait, wow. But we are different. And I'm like, prove it. Just come out and actually say why you're different, quantify it. You've got great sales and 5-star reviews. How many compared to what? Why does it matter? That's why I just want to take the flip side of your question, because I see more of it done of like the opposite of that's not the way to go, even though it might feel natural to some. And it's just a matter of that confidence also comes from quantifying things. So I have 2 rules of thumb. If you can quantify something, always do it. Always add a number statistic comparison. 2 is if you can take your language and go paste it in another pitch of a different industry, different stage, whatever, and it makes sense, you need to delete it or add more detail. The founders who get granular are the ones who are actually prepared to answer questions and be detailed and are probably going to do the most right by the money at the end of the day.
And that can be really challenging, especially knowing how accessible it has become to become a business owner and how congested some of these categories just inherently are. We're beauty and consumer electronics. They're some of the biggest categories, for us on Alibaba.com and for small business owners entering these spaces. That differentiating factor and this repetitive language or maybe, vague language is kind of hard to resist because the roadmap has been drawn. So how do you, in congested spaces, kind of go off course to create something unique?
You want it to be so clear that someone else could go pitch you to your target consumer. Website language and marketing language is different than investor-centric language. So that's okay that maybe it feels a little bit more generic there. You're using different phrases, but when you're talking about actually funding in that sense, it's got to be specific. And I like to say and live by niches get riches. Like, it's okay to be niche. It is okay to be specific in who you serve. For example, a beauty line that I was supporting get funding, she was so generic in terms of we're helping, agitated skin clear up and this and that. And when we actually dug to the root of what she was trying to do and what she formulated, it was for densely polluted cities. That's where the breakouts occurred. And her specific products specifically were meant to counteract the pollution and enhance the skin microbiome. Like that level of detail and that area of target consumer gives confidence to the investor, which is going to turn, hopefully into a check, pending a lot of other details. But, the sales, retail, marketing language, again, very different from what does an investor want to hear and see.
So as we move past that hook, that opening moment with your investors, how do you continue to build that narrative and build that story with language that is appealing to them and will foster a good dynamic in the room, asking the right questions? How do you guarantee that successful dialogue in the pitch?
Well, nothing in life is guaranteed. So 1, that's a mindset shift. And 2, investors want to see particular categories, and I'll name them in a second. But the first is that initial meeting is relationship building. It's not, all right, I'm going to pull out my pitch deck and pitch you and hopefully you write a check at the end. It is literally that vetting stage of, do we feel this out? Are we going to be strategic for each other? Just because someone has the title of investor doesn't mean that you should be pitching them. So the official categories are initially, I would say, problem and story. Investors make decision off of emotion at the end of the day, whether you think so or not. There is some sort of emotion, whether it's toward some of the actual tactics and market data and things that you have. It is still an emotional decision. And so problem and story, and then we always back up with statistics. Your opinion doesn't matter. You are not a $1 billion founder with a ton of exits most likely. So like, don't use your opinion as leverage of I think, I feel, I believe. They don't care. Use industry data to actually show this is not just my thought of the market, this is what's actually going on. That third bucket is like, now tell me what you do. You're building up to it of like problem, story, connection, proof to now I'm solving it. I'm crazy enough to want to do this, to fix this for whatever sector and space. And then it's traction, what you've done, proof, validation, the size of the market, who you're serving, how you're making money. It's your competition. It is your financials, the team, and an ask. There are a ton of other details that you can add in between and that can float necessarily. But from a high level, like those are the most important categories. And an initial investor pitch should be 5 to 7 minutes. And you can fit all that in 5 to 7 minutes. And I do it every day, all day long with our founders because no one wants to be talked at for 45 minutes.